By, and if you missed it, at 11:30 last night, the IEC Commissioner Simphiwe highlighted that there had been some serious allegations of double voting, and he did talk about the number of checks and balances in place that the IEC has in order for that not to happen. So in case you did miss that briefing at 11:30, let me just take you through some of those points that he did speak about. He said there's a voter's roll which only allows single voting, valid ID must be produced, scanned ID before you vote. Of course, we all know about that. That little ink mark on the thumb, and the completion of a form, which is a declaration. Party agents, observers monitoring, reporting processes in place, and capturing of results and keeping it on that system, which can be recalled at any time. So just a reminder for you, if you perhaps missed what the IEC Commissioner had to say at 11:30 last night. For now, though, let's cross then live to the Rock. Arabile Gumede, good morning again.
Yeah, good morning, Florence. It has been, of course, an interesting one. And as you noted there, of course, the double dipping and double voting scenario and situation will be one that will be keenly watched as to exactly what the IEC does with regards to that. The systems in place that they say they have indeed to perhaps reconcile that matter and see exactly how things have fared. We'll, of course, wait for perhaps even a final update with regards to where things stand at present. Have they received all the boxes? Has closing of the all the voting stations happened successfully, and of course the delivery of all those votes as well through to the Rock. Voting has continued until 9 o'clock, of course, and now we're firmly into that counting process as some of the results come through. Before we get into the analysis, however, let's just chat to the IEC. My colleague Simphiwe Ngcongwane is standing by, of course, on the floor as we get some context as to how things are faring. Simphiwe.
Well, thank you, Arabile. Now, if there's one organization or institution that has been subjected to criticism and, and maybe praise over the past few months, is the Independent Electoral Commission. Now, we've seen earlier on when the day started that some of the voting stations could not open, and we're still yet to get maybe an explanation from the IEC as to what caused that. Now, I'm joined by the member of the National Commission of the IEC, Mr. Moepe. Mr. Moepe, very good evening to you. Thank you so much for joining us. What's your overall impression of the entire voting process so far?
Let's say good morning, because we're into a new day. The voting process, in our view, started off got off to a good start, but we did have troubles in the day. Some stations not opening. We managed a majority of those, but we did have a few, a handful that still remained unopened.
Those stations, why didn't they open?
Well, we live in a community where there are protests, there are natural disasters, there are, you deal with human beings. A combination of that put together is what we dealt with. In the end, we dealt with each one of those situations. We had to negotiate them. Generally, it went well. We have received, and we acknowledge that, we have received allegations, serious at that, which we take seriously, which allegations we addressed the media on, and we indicated that we will deal with each one of them.
Before we talk in depth about the allegations, I just need to find out from you as to those who failed to vote as a result of some of the voting stations failing to open. I mean, they've been robbed of their democratic and constitutional right. What kind of recourse do they have?
There are not people like that. We have remained open in those instances where persons could not come to the stations. But in the nature of these elections, persons who were unable to go to the stations could go to other stations. In instances where queues had formed, we did not close those stations by 9 o'clock. We remained open. There may even be stations, as I speak to you, that remain open to accommodate. We will not leave people that want to vote not to vote.
There's been allegations of, in some instances, of double voting, some people voting in more than one voting stations. How have you dealt with this? I mean, surely the IEC should have seen this coming, particularly with regards to the technology around this.
You possibly missed our update. We have been clear. We have said the systems we have developed in elections are very extensive. Until now, in our elections, these allegations have not arisen. We are not saying security measures cannot be breached. We are saying we are keenly interested in what, if any, of all of the measures that we have in place have been breached. We have a number of measures. And these measures, some of them work in combination, others work individually. The allegations we got are going to help us see which of the measures that we have in place have been breached and how they have been breached, and to what extent, if any, have this impacted on the elections. We've also committed that we will not be able to sweep this under the carpet. Our systems are transparent. You as the media know that. Every result that is beamed here, you can actually go pull the result system and see if indeed we captured that result right.
Mr. Moepa, in my understanding of the statement that you released, it was to the effect that there is absolutely nothing you can do with regards to double voting. For example, that machine that you use to scan the barcode to verify registration of the voters, surely that could have been used to perhaps spot if there's been discrepancies or irregularities.
But you're mistaken. That machine does not get you to vote. You vote on a ballot. That's the point we're making. We want people to understand that that machine simply says, yes, you're a registered voter. On the segment of the voter's roll, you are on sequence number 792. So that the person working on the voter's roll doesn't have to go through page 1, page 2, page 3. They go straight to 792. It does not, in any event, say that you voted. But it is an important check for us because it gives us your footprints. It does say to us, you've been at that station. What is going to tell us at the station is the sworn statement that you filled in to get the ballot. That's what's going to get, and we'll deal with that matter. That's why we're going to look at that. The point we are making is the following. We are not saying that you could not breach 1 or 2 or 3 measures, or all of them. We say we have never been to that point, and we want to see in this election how we got to that, if we got to it. And we will be clear. We will say to South Africa, this is where we are. And we are saying, even if we wanted to hide, we couldn't. And that's what we like with our processes. We will come back to you as the media and this nation and say, this has gone wrong or nothing has gone wrong, and here's the evidence. We accept that this indelible ink, for example, as a measure on its own, it's a chemical. And any chemical has a contra chemical that can deal with it. If indeed that has happened, we will be the first to tell you. We will be the first to say, yes, indeed, there have been a number of people. Our manufacturers confirm that, and this is what they have used to get past it. We will not hide anything. So I want to assure South Africa, I want to assure you that we are basically saying there is nothing that's going to be a sacred cow. If it's our processes, if it's our systems, even if it's us, our own staff, we will say so. We have absolutely nothing to hide.
Okay, briefly, let's talk about the computation of the votes. After the entire counting process, how do the votes make it onto the leaderboard?
A very good question. Every one of the results that you see on the board is what I call a clean result. It's gone through a number of checks and balances, which we spoke about earlier, to say, for example, the result that got onto the board first. There were 24 voters in that voting station, and only those people in that voting station voted. So they couldn't, they voted once and 24 of them came. There was no person that came from outside who said, I'm coming to apply here. So we know it's clean. It has been received. It has been checked by party agents and election observers. It was received and signed for by all of those people. It was taken to a capturing site, captured, audited by independent auditors, gone through our internal checks, and once it passes all of those, it lands on the board without human intervention. If a result cannot go through that process, it will remain in the system. It will tell you and I at the same time that we have received this, we are unable to audit it or to match the audited result to the captured, and then it'll get stuck there. We'll be able to explain to you why it cannot get onto the board.
Mr. Muyepe, I'm going to let you go. It's going to be a very long night, or rather a long morning for you. Thank you so much for chatting to us. That was a member of the National Commission of the Independent Electoral Commission, Mr. Mosotho Muyepe, just giving us a brief overview of how the election process went by. And just a quick reminder, behind me are some of the election agents. I've been hearing some applause. They're busy looking at the leaderboard here. And just a quick update. The